President Trump, in his inaugural address, highlighting the importance of the Panama Canal, is something that was long overdue. This is a country that has taken control of that canal. It's been co-opted by China, who is building huge facilities there that could be easily put into, transformed into military purposes in our own backyard. The fact is that this is a strategic position, one of the most important positions in the world as far as the United States Navy is concerned, especially, and for our global trade as we move from one ocean to the next. This is something that should have been dealt with by previous administrations, but they were tied up in other places that we didn't need to be worried about, like Iraq and Afghanistan and these other places and these other conflicts that went on. Billions of dollars have gone over to Ukraine, and even more was spent, I think, in the horribly failed, disastrous wars of Iraq and Afghanistan. So instead of shoring up our backyards and making sure that we make investments within Central and South America and throughout the rest of the world, the Chinese have been moving in and, I guess you could say, eating our lunch. The fact is, Trump is trying to address something that's of vital importance here. The Monroe Doctrine was put in place so that we wouldn't have foreign powers within our hemisphere trying to throw their weight around and take control of nations that we would eventually end up in conflicts with. When I first thought about the Chinese involvement in the Panama Canal area, I thought, no big deal. They're just Chinese firms, nothing we need to worry about. But this is a foothold. It represents a foothold in our sphere that will, in time, be transformed and used for military purposes. And this is the concern of the defense establishment and the Trump White House. But we have to ask, why were the Chinese able to build a port there to begin with? Well, the United States has been flying around the world, not investing in our allies, not investing in infrastructure, not helping to propel nations forward economically. The Chinese have been there. The Chinese have been there helping Panama with this $2 billion they make off of that canal and trade and commerce. So much so that the government of Panama changed its recognition from Taiwan to Beijing within the last few years. This goes to show you they can throw their economic weight around to influence governments and tilt them away from freedom and into supporting a tyrannous government. Something that we need to keep in mind is that it's not overstated that we need to take the Panama Canal back. When the United States is in charge of trade routes, we make sure everyone has access to them. We don't stop Chinese ships. We don't stop Iranian ships. We don't do this. We allow free trade to take place. And as we guard the world's oceans, we keep these shipping lanes open, which is why nobody has complained about the US and British ships being all over the planet. It's because every nation knows, including our adversaries, that we want everyone to be able to engage in free trade. Foreign nations hostile to the United States who hope to exist in a multipolar world, have the idea that they're going to start carving up spheres of influence. The last thing we need is for foreign nations like China, Russia, or others, or the people in Panama, to start stopping ships and enforcing their own rules. Free trade is vital, and the ability for our national security to be protected by moving ships from one side of the ocean to the other is vital as well. As we're gearing up for 2026, this is probably going to continue to be a major issue and may even turn into open conflict. I hope not, but this is something you need to be prepared for on the campaign trail. I've got more detail on my Substack that goes into this that goes into the history a little bit more, that goes into the talking points with a bit more detail. But something you got to keep in mind when we're thinking about this issue is our ability to move ships from one place to the other is severely compromised. With it being 6% of global trade, but significantly higher percentage for the United States, it's something that we need to make sure that we keep open. We don't want to be in a situation where we need to move our East Coast, our Atlantic fleet to the Pacific for a major conflict and not be able to do that, and that's what it's looking like. You also need to keep in mind that this economic footprint that is being placed on Panama represents a footprint for China into the entirety of Central and South America. But they're filling a vacuum. The United States has not invested in Central and Latin America in any enormity whatsoever. We've basically been ignoring it, other than some light free trade agreements, for a better part of a century. Now it's really a time to shore up our backyard and make sure that we're ready for the conflicts that are going to be coming in the 21st century. Central and South America, like the United States, for the most part, they believe in freedom, they support our democracy, but their economies are weak. If we start investing In Central and South America, we're going to be able to protect our backyard. We're going to be able to shore up these governments, and we solve several problems at once. The first problem we solve is our national security issues in Panama. This is vital to doing so, and we should be supporting infrastructure projects that are better and more interesting and more significant than what Chinese are doing from the other part of the world. We should be building rail. We should be having shipping networks open, and we should make sure that we have highway networks open so that we can engage in trade. An investment in Central and South America also would decrease the amount of illegal immigrants that we have coming through Mexico. This is vital because the number one way to stop people from coming to through our borders illegally isn't to build a wall. It's to create the economic conditions in the countries where they come from, where they'll be able to stay and live peacefully and prosper. We need to get involved in Central and Latin America and Central and South America again in ways that we haven't in a very long time. And the last time we got involved, it was mostly the US government overthrowing democratically elected peoples and instilling dictators. We can do better now. We're in a different situation, and we can do a lot more in this area. When we're thinking about the future of keeping America safe, we have to keep in mind that shoring up, that offering support to our friends in Central and South America is going to be key to making sure that we don't continue to have Chinese influence that comes into those areas, because they're going to want to offer all the things that we haven't offered. And in return, they're going to end up in control of these governments. It's really that simple. Yeah, we can take command of the Panama Canal again. I have no doubt we can do that with our military forces rather easily, hopefully, if it comes to that. But it's the symptom of a bigger problem. We've left a big gaping hole in Central and South America, and until we address that, we're going to continue to have these problems. And we don't want the military solution to be the only solution we use, when we could use soft power, like China, like we did through most of the Cold War in other parts of the world, to shore this up. So be sure to pay attention to this issue with the Panama Canal. It is of vital importance, and will come up again very shortly as Trump tries to address these issues. Let's just hope that you and he have the foresight to start making investments in Central and South America so that we don't have to continue to address these problems again and again. So be sure to check out the article on Substack for more detailed information on the history of the canal and on your talking points as you're getting ready for 2026. Good luck on the campaign.